intrigues you most about how this trial is shaping up so far? Richard, you first.
Fred, I think the last final witness for the prosecution summed it all up. He was unprepared, incompetent, inept, and disgraceful. And that's my opinion of the prosecution of this case.
The state rests in the Florida versus George Zimmerman. Did the prosecution do a good job of proving second-degree murder? Let's bring in our legal guys, Avery Freeman, a civil rights attorney and law professor in Cleveland, and Richard Herman, a New York criminal defense attorney and law professor, joining us from Las Vegas. Good to see both of you, gentlemen.
Hey, Fred.
All right, before we talk about some of the testimony that we witnessed during this week and capped off with the two mothers testifying, Richard, you first. Did the prosecution do a good job, in your view, before resting that second-degree murder, George Zimmerman is guilty?
Fred, it's disgraceful. This prosecution is absolutely disgraceful. Every single witness testified for the prosecution. They were unprepared. They were converted into defense witnesses. The prosecution put the self-defense claim of George Zimmerman before the jury. There's no way he's going to testify now. He doesn't have to. The jury has seen 4 or 5 interviews that he gave, and each one is substantially similar. Every witness was really, Fred, an abomination. They were just horrible. They were unprepared. The information they gave to the jury is not going to be believable. It's not credible, except for one witness, Mr. Good, the neighbor, who came out, who testified unequivocally. He's got no dog in this fight. He says Trayvon Martin was on top, Zimmerman was below. He saw Martin pounding him. And there's your self-defense case. It's over, Fred. They should never have charged second-degree murder. It's really a sham, and it shows how politically motivated this prosecution was.
So what does the defense need to do further then next week when court resumes, Richard?
Not much, Fred. You're going to see a minimal defense here, I believe. At least, you know, I'm not with them, but I believe it should be a minimal defense. They put on Dr. DeMeo, who will educate this jury on forensics and how a medical examiner should evaluate a victim, not like the jokester that they put on the stand, who was reading prepared questions and answers that he had.
Oh, my gosh.
He was a jokester.
Are people being a little hard on him, though?
That's not
wait
fair.
a minute.
That really is
I'm
not
not.
a fair characterization.
20 trials.
That's not a fair characterization.
Of every examination that you do when you are doing, you know, dozens in 1 week at a time. And Trayvon Martin wasn't necessarily a notable person for his memory until publicly everyone started learning the name of Trayvon Martin and this situation. And for that, he then referred to his
exactly
notes.
right. That's exactly right.
This man.
You can't expect a coroner.
Go ahead, Avery.
You can't expect a coroner to know everybody. That's just impossible.
Expect that.
And you want to know something? Maybe he could have been better prepared, but the fact is he testified honestly, he testified forthrightly. Ultimately, the jury makes the decision. Not the judge, not you, not me. The jury will make the decision. That's it.
We know the jury makes a decision, but he's a professional witness. He testified that he has been approved as an expert in 20 other trials where he testified. This Zimmerman's life is on the line here. He had an obligation to prepare his testimony so when he came in, he could speak with knowledge of what he did. And what did we learn?
And you know
what?
No
protocols. He doesn't remember anything. He doesn't know anything.
But
He's reading answers. He changed his mind. He changed his opinions. They will give him a big fat 0. They will discard everything he said because he was a joke. He was unbelievable. Just like Dr. Rao and Dr. Rao testified too. They're going to disregard her also. These people are coming in with agendas, Fred, and they're not believable. They're not credible.
What possible agenda? That's not fair. What agenda?
Conviction.
What agenda?
The Conviction Express. That's all it is. That's their agenda. They work for the state. They're supporting the state, just as the judge is.
I don't think so.
She's bending over backwards to help the prosecution here. She should have granted that motion to dismiss.
The judge has been completely fair.
As a matter of law, murder too should have been dismissed. They did utterly fail to prove any depravity.
But it didn't, and at this point, the jurors now have to try to extrapolate all that they heard from all of this testimony. They have to figure out what's believable, what's credible, and by hearing the two mothers on that final day before the weekend, something tells me they are indeed considering the testimony of Gladys Zimmerman as well as Sabrina Fulton, trying to ascertain.
Bingo.
Yeah,
exactly
which,
right.
Which voice
thing,
may
Fred,
have been heard on that 911 call. I know a lot.
One thing.
Yeah, it's being
Ms.
considered.
Zimmerman's
Yes.
Exactly
testimony.
right.
Ms. Zimmerman's testimony, though, was corroborated by the neighbor, Mr. Good. That gives her a slight edge over Ms. Fulton. I'm sure it was devastating for both of them.
And it's the only thing I agree with. That's the only thing I agree with. John Good was a great witness. That was
I wish Ms. Fulton would have had some tears coming down to show some emotion, which she didn't. I think Ms. Zimmerman gets the edge on the mothers.
Quiet dignity.
Okay, all right, gentlemen. We're not done with you guys because we want to talk to you about a couple other extraordinary cases in about 20 minutes. But we enjoyed hearing your recollection of this trial thus far. So you're going to be back in 20 minutes.
Are you sure? Are we coming back?
I think you're going to come back.
Really?
Please, come
really
back. Yes. We've got a couple more cases, and these are good ones, too. We might not be able to, get you as riled up over these cases as you are about this one, but that's okay.